Hey everyone, it's Thursday, November 17th. I'm Francesca Maxime, and this is WiseGirl. Thanks so much for watching. It's been just over a week since we had the elections here in the US, and I've been spending a lot of time in community with different kinds of folks, sort of thinking and talking about not only the election and what it means for us, but also in general, how it is that we often feel like external events can influence our inner state of being, whether they're grand on the scale of the election or whether they're something smaller but that affects our lives, such as a change at work or in our family or even something like a change on our commute. And I want to invite you to consider how we relate to all these things that happen externally and what we can do about that, because one of the things that we know that we can't do is control the outside, but we know that we can control the inside. And what I mean by that isn't to say that we can't be activists or we can't take part or make efforts in putting forth a real generated effort on our part toward what we think is right and necessary in order to promote greater peace or well-being for ourselves and others in our local community and throughout the world, but that we also need to be able to look at that from a position of inner strength and stability so that we can then go forward with a response that is wise and not one that is reactionary. One of the things that I know for myself that has helped a lot in that regard has been an ability to sit more with myself quietly. That has been something that previously in the last 40 years on the planet was really difficult for me to do. And mainly that was because I was very self-critical and allowed my ego and social conditioning to take over and program me with the ideas of not being good enough and being unlovable in whatever way. They came from society, childhood taunting, discord with my father, things that were essentially out of my control that I took on and assumed were my fault. Out of that also came a sense of real justice, wanting to make it right and somehow make others pay, or a sense of beating myself up more because I somehow didn't feel like I was worthy and deserved to be in the space of receiving gifts from others that, in fact, I well deserve to receive, and many human beings do here in the US and anywhere. And that many beings, in terms of animals or plants or anything like that, also deserve having, which are basically the foundations of kindness and compassion and understanding and unconditional love. Of course, what I found was, as someone who had survived trauma and who had survived abuse and who had been able to get through the world by being what I called my badass girl, I was also disobeying my inner true nature, which was really much more loving and kind. But because I hadn't really tapped into that, it was difficult for me to act in a way that was loving and kind toward others in a consistent way. When I began to shift my perspective to being understanding of how my conditioning created a mind within me that had a set of beliefs that was incorrect and untrue, and how I could start to reprogram that through sitting quietly in meditation, spending more time in activities that made me feel good that I had a right to do, and choosing to do activities that were better for me, like quitting drinking or eating a vegetarian diet or spending more time exercising and doing yoga or other kinds of physical walks in nature that helped me mentally and physically, my overall well-being began to increase. And then with that, my ability to see others in a more compassionate light, regardless of their external personality and their actions, became. My ability to increase forgiveness for those who had wronged me or never gave me what I wanted or needed increased. My ability to be patient with those I love who may misstep and not always act in the best way but have good intentions increased. And my ability to recognize when I still do myself make mistakes and misstep and hurt others without intention, including myself, whether it's going for that brownie when I don't need it, or not taking a walk, or meditating when I know I need it, that I also come back to a place of compassion and am willing to sit and be quiet and start over and not recognize that I have to, throw the rest away, or that it doesn't matter, or that I'll never get back to a regular practice or good habits or anything like that, because the train of thought and the thinking then just goes off on that direction, and before you know it, you're calling yourself a piece of you-know-what all over again, and that never helps. So in this time, at this period, one of the things that I would encourage a lot of people to do, and a lot of the great teachers that I'd had the opportunity to spend time with over this last week and a half reiterated, is can we sit and be still with ourselves? Instead of just jumping forward on the barricades, as one of them said, which is a possibility, and certainly nothing wrong with doing that for some, can we also have the ability to sit quietly with ourselves and hold within ourselves all of whatever is happening, whatever we see as positive or beautiful, as well as whatever we see as challenging and unjust or unfair. That without the darkness, there is no light. And that if we can sit and come from this place of a deeper knowing and a greater knowing within ourselves, our ability to respond appropriately as things come up for the long haul, the marathon, not the sprint, of the life that we're given and the active nature in which we will engage in it, that we're able to choose in a way that sometimes even ourselves may not necessarily be participating in. We may want to be doing good things but burning ourselves out. We may be jumping up and raising our hand to participate in things that we may not necessarily be able to sustain over the long haul. In the concentration camp, Viktor Frankl was able to survive in large measure because he was able to control his mind, have presence of mind, and not be a prisoner of his own mind in that horrific situation, as was Nelson Mandela. And even Gandhi in India, when looking at the plight of his people there, said, okay, well, I need to think about how I'm going to handle what ended up becoming the Salt March. How am I going to handle the fact that my people aren't going to be able to sustain this levy on salt, and what am I going to do? And he meditated for a month. He sat quietly for a month before he then was able to amass and corral what became a movement that benefited so many. So I don't want to feel like we're shaming ourselves in any way by wanting to jump up and do things because we feel as though there is a certain injustice that's in the world, because that is part of life in the world. But I also want to invite us to consider that one of the big tests as to whether or not we're going to be able to sustain over the long term, perhaps creating a new system that invites more equity and greater justice over the long haul, is founded on the ability to sit with ourselves and embrace ourselves and our own darkness and light at all times, so that we can then move into a situation not out of fear, but out of love, and because we are grounded in something beyond what's happening outside of us. So that's all I have to say for today. I always love hearing from you. I will try to post a little more often. I think I've just been trying to settle into everything that's been happening and wanted to really just reach out and say hi. So it is, like I said, Thursday the 17th of November, And Thanksgiving is next week, so perhaps, if nothing else, many of us have our health to be grateful for and thankful for, and our loved ones as well. So see you later for now. Okay.